Today, we are going to be chatting with Caitlin. We're going to be talking about coaching. And we're going to be going over kind of Caitlin's origin story of how she became a coach. We're going to talk about what the qualities are of a good client. We're also going to talk about what motivates us personally to be a coach and what we love most about coaching, what we want most for our clients, and also the differences in what we prefer coaching in terms of personal training and group training. So let's dive right in. So Caitlin is with me today, like I said, and she has a great story to tell. She is definitely my greatest success as a coach, coaching a coach. And what would you say when I started coaching you on how to coach? What was the biggest impact that you carry over to today?
Definitely your presence was the number one thing that I wanted to emulate, that I really liked that you had as a coach, and what I wanted to emulate as a coach myself. I think back up just a little bit, I did start as a member of Red Wolf for like a year and a half or so. I definitely didn't coach. I was just a member. I took all the classes, had a bunch of different coaches in the early stages, and, learned from watching all of them a little bit, but never really thought about coaching myself. I didn't get my L1 until I absolutely had to, because we had no more coaches. It came to a point where I had to coach.
Yeah, you did have to coach.
And so I was like, hey, you're getting your L1 next week. And I was like, okay. And I went to CrossFit Costa Mesa at the time to go take my L1 certification. So that just kind of like came about really quickly. I was bartending at the time and had really no coaching experience. I've coached volleyball before, but I've never done, personal training. I've done a lot of personal training myself, like with other coaches, but never actually did that with anybody. So that was a definite learning experience for me. I was super nervous being in front of a class and telling people kind of what to do and what I thought was right. I think that's a huge learning moment of like being very confident and direct and telling people, what I think is right and wrong and what I think is best for them. That's something that I had to learn how to do. And I would watch Matt do a lot of personal training. That's where I think I learned my best qualities that I think I have for myself is watching Matt do personal training and work one-on-one with people and making those connections, but also having that kind of, confident demeanor while training. And so that's something that I really wanted to emulate and have practiced a lot over the years. And I think I've only gotten better just coaching more and more and like getting more hours in. But yeah, that kind of was where it started, is I guess watching you coach and then trying to replicate that.
Well, that's awesome. What would you say was probably like the biggest thing that you picked up from that, other than just presence and maybe confidence?
Well, I learned a lot about exercise and fitness, more than a textbook would ever teach you, right? A lot of people take, tests and certifications and whatnot, but there's nothing like hands-on learning. And so watching you do personal training and watching you tailor things to people's ability, that was definitely something I had to learn how to do. And there are so many exercises, so many different ways to do exercises, and having that tool belt and all those different things. That knowledge base is super important. And I learned a lot of that from just watching you. And then starting to program. Programming was a whole nother chapter and kind of opened the door to understanding how you take someone from, point A to point B, and then working through all of the different variables that happen along the way, right? Somebody gets sick or hurt or anything like that, and how to transition and tailor their fitness map to still get them the same result.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I would say that you and I both are still on the programming journey. You both are still on that journey of becoming better coaches, because I would argue that the work is never done as a coach, that we're always constantly trying to improve. We're trying to get better at designing programs. We're trying to get better at coaching people and keeping them motivated and get them the best results they can in the shortest amount of time possible. And I'm still learning a ton, because there's so many variables when it comes to fitness. Like there's, even when it comes to designing a program, like you have to be aware of, frequency, intensity, volume, the gender plays a role, their training age, their actual age. Like there's so many different variables that go into it. And we learn a ton by just doing it and seeing the results that we produce, and then always constantly improvising and not being afraid to try new things and not ever feeling like we're never making progress. Like we're always trying to improve. And I think that that's what makes you and I such a great combo, is that we're never really satisfied with what we produce, that we're always like, this is good, but I think we can do better. And,
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's something that we both have qualities of that that constantly make us, produce good results.
Yeah, Matt and I always are questioning each other, like, oh, why did you program this? Or what is your intent about that? And so having, somebody to bounce ideas off of is super important. And I think that's how we push each other to make the best program possible, to get the best results possible. I mean, we must be doing something right, because we're only getting better with working out way less, which
very
is
true.
Amazing. And I think our clients are also getting the same results. And yeah, we're always trying to learn. I mean, my social media feed is at least filled with so many different, Instagram people who I, try to learn from as far as different programming styles, movements, training methods, because I mean, people are always training for something new. And so I want to be able to adapt and help them if, somebody one day is like, hey, I want to do a Spartan race, or I want to do this instead. And, I want to be able to help them and be there to support them and guide them in the right way.
100%. Anything else you want to say before we wrap things up and move on to our next section?
Nope. That is how we started coaching, basically.
All right. Very cool. Let's get into what are the qualities of a good client. Do you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
You can go first if you want.
You want me to go first? Okay. Sure. No pressure. All right. So I have it broken down into both good and bad. So I'm actually going to cover the 3 bad character traits first, just to give some context. So there are 3 character traits that I see very commonly that hold people back from achieving their fitness goals. And the first one is that they blame their circumstances. So they say things like, I don't have time, I don't have money, I don't have this, I don't have that. Like, they always blame a certain type of circumstance. Usually time is the biggest one. And then the second one is they blame others. So they blame their kids. They blame that their wife won't let them,
or their spouse,
or that, hey, well, I have family in town, so I can't work out for 2 weeks. So yeah, that's another thing that we commonly see. And then finally, ultimately, the last one is that they blame themselves. So they say things like, well, I'm not like you, or they start compare themselves to people who are fit, or do have that, or I can't do this, And so those are some things that, if you're listening to this, to kind of think through, because we all make these excuses just in different realms. Like I make these excuses in other areas, but I've kind of dialed it in fitness. So let's move on to the 3 good character traits of what I see in good clients. And first, number 1 is they're coachable. So they listen, they absorb the information that I'm telling them. And then the second piece is they actually take action on the information that is given them. So if I say you got to go to bed at 9:00 and your phone, get off your phone at 8 p.m., they actually do it. If I give them a workout to do on the weekend when we're not training together, they do it. So they take action and they continually follow through with what I tell them to do. And then the final one is they have impulse control. So they're able to delay gratification. So basically, like if there's Oreos in the pantry, they're able to say no to the Oreos. Or if they have that little voice in their head that says, hey, why don't you just skip the workout today? Just text Matt and cancel. They won't do that, even though they want to. So the ability to delay that gratification and to look at the bigger picture and keep pushing towards their goal, that is what I see the qualities of a good client.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I guess just expanding off of that, a good client to me is somebody who, like Matt said, is goal-oriented, whether it be a very specific, like I want to get a pull-up goal, or just the goal of I want to come to the gym 3 times a week, and like sticking to that. Like that's super important. And always having something. When people tell me, like when I have a goal review with someone and they're just kind of like, oh, I don't know, I just work out. It's like you have to have something that you're striving for in order to get better and get results because everybody has something that they want.
Yeah.
Right.
Just working out is
not
not good enough.
Then
Those are the people that
your
fall
goal
off.
then is to maintain your health and fitness as you get older. Then that is your goal, right? But there is something, and having that tangible idea is helpful for me as a coach, because then I'm able to create a fitness map for you that's going to keep you on the right track, right? So always having a goal and communicating with your coach is, I think, the biggest quality that I need in a client. So when I'm looking for a new client, or if a new client's looking for me, I hope that they, number one, communicate well, and they have like a goal or an idea of what they want to achieve in the gym, because that keeps us on the same path, the right track, and then we get stuff done. I think some, I guess not bad qualities of a client would just be, the opposite, somebody who just is there socially. I think, fitness can be social, but when you have, if that's like your number one priority, it's probably not the best place to be as far as that. So have, that social side, but also know that we're here to work out.
Yeah.
And ultimately, this is a place of fitness. And in order for me to do my job, I also need you to put in the work and do your job.
No, 100%.
I guess that's the simplest way I can put it.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say?
No,
That you want to wrap things
I
up?
think we have great clients overall. So if you have those qualities, come to Red Wolf and join us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing that I think you and I should touch on too is pain points. I think sometimes that when people start, when we go back to like the 3 bad character traits I talked about earlier, when people blame their circumstances, they blame others, and then ultimately they blame themselves, is that they're not enough pain. And I'm not talking about physical pain.
Yeah.
I'm talking about pain like there's nothing that is an emotional pain that motivates them enough to make a change. And I think we see this a lot on like social media or everything, when people are like, hey, find a goal that is attainable and that will make you feel good, is all warm and fuzzy. But really, I think negative motivation is underrated.
Yeah.
I think negative, and case in point is that I'm working with a client now currently, and his dad, I actually have worked with one-on-one before and ended up quitting. And his dad is overweight. He's like, even his doctors are telling him like, you need to start working out. And he's not to mention, he's also on, blood pressure medication. And his health is slowly deteriorating, but he continually won't do anything about it. And I've even messaged him being like, hey, how are you doing? Let's chat. And then he never got back to me. And then, so the member came to me and was like, I don't want to end up like my dad. Like, I see how he's doing. I see how my brother's doing. Like they don't realize how downhill it's going. And he's like, I'm 37. I don't want to end up like them when I'm their age. And so he had a pain point, because he's like, I want to be around for my kids.
Yeah.
I want to be there for my family. I don't want to be, useless. And he realized that if he starts now in his 30s, that by the time he's 50, or when his, whatever his dad's age, I'm not sure how old his dad is, but when he gets to that point, that he'll be able to better serve his family in the long run.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I think when you don't have that pain point, I think it's really easy to make excuses. But when you have that kind of that negative motivation of like, if I don't do this, what's going to happen to me?
Yeah, for sure. I guess I would call it, for me, myself, it would be like that fear. Like, I don't know if it's pain point, but like the fear of not being able to do something for me is like tragic. Like, if I'm not able to lift these things, how am I going to take care of my kids? How am I going to take care of anybody? So just having that slight fear of what if should be motivating enough. I honestly don't get it. If you're a parent out there, like, if you're not working out and that's not motivating enough for you, then I don't know what is, because being able to take care of your kids easily, that's it. Like, that's all I care about. I want to be very clear here. I don't want to just be able to take care of my kids. I want to be able to like beat them constantly pushing them, constantly beating them, showing them what is capable, not just because you're getting old, right? Because people just think as you get older, then you just get weaker and all this stuff. No. As we get older, we're going to get better.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I want to show them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point, because it pushes their boundaries as well. It sets an example of that the standards are the standard until someone breaks the standard.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, we want to be high achievers because life is just a little bit easier.
Yeah, absolutely. We went on a little bit tangent there, but that's okay.
That's totally fine.
That was totally worth it.
Oh, totally worth it. Let's move on to what motivates you to be a coach.
Oh, yes, great. What motivates me to be a coach is seeing that change or being a part of that change in someone's life. I mean, it's very gratifying. Is that the word? I find a lot of gratification in helping someone, physically, mentally, and affect their life, their livelihood, really, for the rest of their lives, right? Being able to give them the tools needed to not only work out in a gym, but to be healthy and fit, and hopefully translate that to their family as well. Like, that is success, and that's kind of why I coach. And I coach because I think Matt will talk about this more so, but we've had a lot of bad coaches in our life, and we don't want to be like that. We saw the impact of having bad coaches and how it affects you in the long run. So I want to be more like the good coaches that I had, and hopefully, affect people's lives that way.
Yeah, no, 100%. And me kind of going back to the whole negative motivation part is that was a huge motivator for me to be a good coach, because I had, like you said, I had so many bad coaches growing up. I had coaches who wouldn't coach me. They would just yell at me for doing things wrong. And I remember specifically there was a time when it wasn't a coach, but it was a teacher, and I asked for help on something. And if you don't know this, I have dyslexia, so I really struggle in school my entire life. Like my processing speed is slower. I just don't understand things as well. Like my retention when I read something is horrendous. So I was asking help from a teacher, and then she got really frustrated with me because I just didn't get it. And apparently it was a simple subject. I can't remember what it was. And then she just throws her hands up and she goes, "I don't know how else to explain it to you." And then she just walked away. And I remember just being like, just not devastated, but I was like really disappointed in myself. And
like,
I felt
why can't I get it?
Yeah, I was like, I got really upset that I just didn't get it, and I wasn't like everyone else. And then I realized that later on that, everyone, I learn differently. There's different things that, we're not all built the same. And so I applied that to my coaching. I realized that not everyone's the same. Not everyone's, we have people who are really athletic. We have people who are really overweight. We have people who, who want to gain muscle, who want to lose fat. And then they all have different backgrounds and different ways that are effective to coach for them as an individual. Because, and then for me, it was, what can I do to be the most effective coach for this person and their goals, to where it's not about me. It's about them.
Yeah.
And that's what I think a lot of fitness coaches get wrong, is they put them on some sort of cookie cutter template, and they're like, oh, it's about me and my program. When no, I try and design things specifically around the person, how they react to it, and their personal goals.
Yeah.
And I want to take them from where they're at to where they want to go. And I try and take myself out of it. And that's a lesson that I learned from my bad coaches, because the bad coaches were all about themselves. And I think that's really shaped me into what kind of a coach I am today.
For sure. And I think we're both this type of coach as well. And what I took from my good coaches, I had about 2 really good coaches in my life. And they were good coaches because they could do everything that they asked me to do. They could show me it. They could show me it in many different ways so that I could understand exactly what it was that they wanted from me. They were patient, and really they could still kick my ass. Like in any workout. Like it was really cool. It was so easy to follow somebody who led by example. It was easy to respect and appreciate somebody who could do everything that they asked me to do. And so that's kind of what the type of coach I want to be as well, as someone who can do all the different movements in many different styles so that you can affect as many people as possible in the best way. And being able to do that is super important to me. And so that's why I really strive on always kind of like perfecting movements and trying to make things, as easy to understand as possible.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a great point that I forgot to bring up, is that looking back, a lot of my bad coaches weren't great examples.
Yeah.
And so when I see that, I'm like, well, what would the opposite be? And that would be to be a good leader, I would need to be a good example, and to follow through with what I'm going to say I'm going to do, and to do what I say to do. So if I give someone a piece of advice, if I say go to bed at 9 o'clock and to get off your phone and to eat protein and to work out 4 times a week, that I do the same myself.
Yes, exactly. And that's something that we hold very high as a standard at Red Wolf.
Yep, absolutely. Anything else before we move on to the next question?
Nope, I think that was it. We covered it all.
Fantastic. All right. So what do you love most about coaching?
I think like what we said before, affecting people's lives positively as much as possible. I like coaching also because it's a social thing. I get up in front of people. I like control. I like to control a crowd. So being able to, do both in a group setting and in a personal setting, it's kind of nice having that change. And I do the programming at the gym as well. So again, another piece of control, I guess, that I really like around fitness and coaching in general.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. I think the thing that I love most about coaching is seeing someone do something that they didn't think that they could do. So I can't tell you how many times I've helped people get their first pull up or their first muscle up, or they PR a squat, and then they look at me with the big eyes and with the big old smile, and they look at me and they say, I never thought I would be able to do this. And that is so rewarding because, I think we all have struggle with confidence at some point in our lives. If not, we still are. And when you can build confidence in someone like that, and then that's going to transfer over to the rest of their life. So I just tell, just knowing that I improved someone's life in general, that, that they just did something they didn't think they could do. And that's always a huge confidence booster.
Yeah, I think you have a great story that kind of pinpoints that exact example of being able to affect someone's life so far, not just in the gym, but just in general as well, with one of your clients.
Oh, yeah. So this is probably one of my most proudest moments as a coach. So I got a client in, I want to say, like right after the pandemic kind of lifted in 2020. And he was a high functioning autistic. I think he was about 11 when he first started with me. I can't remember exactly how old he was, but he was with me for 2 years. And when he came to me, he didn't have any kind of fitness experience whatsoever, just zero. Just kind of really skinny, stayed at home, didn't really do much, didn't really talk at all. You could tell he had zero confidence, had trouble looking me in the eye when I was coaching him that first day. And I remember that he was so unathletic that I had to teach him how to deadlift with 2 5-pound dumbbells with benches on the sides of him, because he couldn't get his back in the right position to go any lower than that. So I had to have a tactile thing for him, and I had to work with him to even get his posture correct. And then even with the banded pull-ups, I had to have like God knows how many bands on the bar, and I had to help him on top of that. And then over the progression of 2 years, what ended up happening, and he's no longer training with me now, but guess what? Now he is in junior guards. He did I can't remember the actual event, so correct me if I'm wrong, but he did I think it was some sort of a 4-mile run for sure, and a pier swim. And then there was some other event, I think either another swim or another run, I'm not sure. But anyway, he finished 4th out of 50 kids. And then afterwards he says, I really want to win this. And he is so much more confident. And on top of that, he does track and cross country now. And this is someone coming from zero athletics, and he has confidence. He's talking more. He's cracking jokes. He can...
he climbed a rope. He did the rope climb.
Yeah, he can do rope climbs. He can do strict pull-ups. He can squat full depth. I think we even worked him up to about like a 135 squat, from nothing. And he's deadlifting. He can do it all.
Yeah.
He can do everything that, CrossFit has to offer now. So that was my greatest success, because I took someone from ground zero and also zero confidence and absolutely nothing. And I was like, this is going to be a big project.
Yes.
But it was extremely rewarding for me as a coach just to see him. And this is a great lesson just on consistency and just showing up day after day, because he very rarely missed a session. He would show up 2-3 times a week, personal training, and did that for 2 years straight. And 2 years over the lifespan of his entire life is not that long. But look at what those 2 years gave him.
Yeah.
And most importantly, gave him confidence. And now he's out there interacting with people, having fun, enjoying what his body has to offer, and seeing like what he can do.
Yes.
Like,
he can do more.
Yeah, and he is an excellent runner, and he was not a runner when he first started with me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that
That's
was
awesome.
definitely one of my proudest moments as a coach.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we're all about, is we have so many success stories like that. And that's kind of what just keeps us motivated, keeps us pushing and waiting for the next person to, walk through the door or make that, big decision. Like, this is going to be the year I make big change.
Yeah. And it's amazing how fast it can happen. I know, like, we say, patience and, just sticking with it, but, you can completely pull a 180 in your life just in 1 year.
Yeah. I mean, it just takes that spark, like that true moment that you're like, okay, I'm really going to start giving effort. I mean, here's just a little snippet. Like, I've been coaching the 5 a.m. class for quite a few years now, on and off, but I would say consistently, definitely for like the last 2 years. Before that, I would take 5 a.m. class. And I can tell you that 5 a.m. has been very consistent as far as the people at 5 a.m. for many, many years. Some people have been with us for 7+ years going to 5 a.m. class. And I can honestly say in the last 2 years, the 5 a.m. people have made huge gains. And I don't really know what happened or what changed exactly, but a spark was lit and they are really starting to push and really starting to get better. Like, I mean, because that's what happens. Sometimes you just really start to plateau. There is no external motivation factor, nobody to push you. But once you yourself make that decision, like, this is going to be it. This is the time. Like, that's when, change starts to happen. Mm-hmm. And then you ride that motivation out and you just keep going.
Yeah, it's crazy that when you get that momentum going, that you don't even need motivation because it's just automatic.
Yeah. So good job, 5 a.m. You guys are really starting to move up.
Nailed it. What do you want most for your clients? And I know we kind of already covered this, but let's kind of dig into it a little bit more.
Yeah, and just really quick, what I want most is to give people the knowledge and the tools to be able to do this, forever and eventually on your own. I mean, I don't know if we're always going to be there to lead the class, to lead you through a workout, but if I can give you the tools and the knowledge so that you can stay fulfilled and make, good, healthy decisions for the rest of your life, like that's kind of what I'm all about, what I'm here for.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't said it better myself, so I won't go off on it. And then, I mean, same thing as I said with my client, Philip, just giving people the confidence that they can do it and they can do it on their own. And that, whoever comes through our doors, my end game is to send them on their way much better and healthier and fitter than they did when they came in. And if that's all that happens, no matter how long they're with us, then that is a 10 out of 10 success.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, moving on to our final question. So what do you like coaching more? Do you like coaching personal training more? Do you like coaching group classes more, and why?
Both are different. I wouldn't say I like coaching one more than the other. They're just different in many, many ways. Coaching group class is tough. I mean, corralling a group of adults at different hours of the day is very difficult to do. Making sure everybody has a great maximal workout for themselves. They're doing the right movements. They're doing the right reps. There's just so many variables that go into group training, which kind of makes it fun and exciting and fast-paced, which is probably the best part of group class, is trying to maintain a personal feel in a group setting. I mean, I think that's what CrossFit is all about.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the benefit of group training for me, is the fast-paced, being able to, touch base with everybody and have that positive effect in the group setting. However, I really like personal training because I get the most results out of personal training. I have the most positive impact in personal training. And I can really give somebody a great workout. And I think like that, multiplied over and over again for many days, man, you can see some huge results in personal training.
Oh, so, yeah. No, I 100% agree with you.
But besides that, it's, I guess, more taxing in a personal training setting, right? You're giving all of you to one person, and it is exhausting in that sense, but rewarding in the same sense that you get to really see how you can affect someone with positive change.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the energy of the group classes, and I feed off that, which is great. But the only thing I don't like about group classes is that I can only coach so much. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't give everybody the attention that I could get one-on-one. So if I have 15 people versus 1 people, that's kind of obvious.
Yeah.
So I have to give my little nugget, give them their little cue, correct it, make sure they're doing it right, and then move on. And then I can't have those one-on-one kind of conversations as much as I want. Mm-hmm. and have that interaction. The personal training, just like how you said, I like how I can get so much in such a short amount of time, because it's so much easier to get in. Like, I can get in 3 solid workouts in 1 hour with someone and get them give them like 2 or 3 times the amount of results in half the amount of time with personal training. So that's what I like about it, just because results come faster. But like you said, it kind of drains your energy, because you are the energy, because there's no other one to feed off of. So I'm the one constantly motivating them. Whereas I can kind of feed off the energy of a group class, because, you know, they're into it, they're laughing, they're having a good time. So I feed off that too. Yeah, I mean, both are extremely effective. It just depends on the personal needs of each individual person, really.
Yeah, I think ultimately for anyone at any point in their life, the best style of training is group classes with some personal training weekly.
Yeah.
Like, if you can do that, you will maximize your gym time in so many different ways, right? So if you can ideally do group classes 3 times a week and personal training 2 times a week, that is the golden ticket right there.
No, yeah.
100%. So, but if you can't do that, then make sure you pick one or the other, and then never be afraid to go back and forth between the two. Like, it's not forever. It's just for now. I think that is like a huge motto I've been saying to some people, is that, like, when they're like, oh, I'm not eating any carbs right now. And I go, yeah, it's not forever, but it's for now, right? Like, that's kind of where you're at. So same thing with fitness. Like, you can say like, oh, I'm personal training right now. Yeah, for now, but not forever.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Any final thoughts you want to say before we wrap things up?
Nope. I love being a coach, and I'm going to keep coaching for a very long time.
Yep. And same thing here. And my goal really is to start developing the next generation of coaches. I've really benefited so much, and I've learned so much, that I think I have some knowledge that I can pass on to the next generation. And I think there's a lot of people who are like me, who want to make this their full-time gig, but they can't, or they don't know how. So I don't want to lose those people to white collar 9-to-5 jobs. There's a lot of good, because I know I have a lot of friends who they ended up going into other professions because, you know, coaching was just a stepping stone to something else. And so I would love that. That would be like a future goal of mine, is to develop the next generation of really good coaches, so that way they can have the platform that I've had.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll write you your first review.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That's why I married you.
5 stars.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. If this was helpful, please leave us a 5-star review so we know to make more content just like this. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Red Wolf CrossFit. Please DM your questions or content suggestions there. We're always looking for topics. Until next time, good luck. Have fun.
Nailed it.